not only in this project, but also in your future prospects, because this project report is something you can proudly show anybody, not only during your initial job prospects, later on to anybody, this is what I have achieved. And
Yeah, I think it is the project report is something like endorsement which guarantee that which certify that you can undertake the very large project with some confidence.
yeah, that's right. So when you go now in our context, we most of the time look at going and finding jobs at other places, but then in the other part of the world, basically people start their own companies, and then if you have done it properly on your own with your own creative ideas, you may have the exposure to start your own company, and maybe you come up with a commercial product with that solution, because if you generalize it, maybe few others also would like to use it, then you market it in a way of a commercial level. That's how lot of these other products have emerged in the system. And so the plenty of examples can be given. I will just briefly talk about one more example related to accounting. Now when you talk about accounting, it covers inventory control, account receivable, account payable, payroll, general ledger. All activities are done by a big division which handles the finances and these type of activities. So for each of them, you write various software components, and generally it is developed in an integrated manner. Now you don't have to develop all modules as a project. For example, the client may say I want accounting software, but then you will target with respect to some aspect. So if you take payroll, then it is independent of some of the other activities with respect to the inventory control, and things are completely different tasks. But then if you talk about payroll, also payroll alone, most of the time it's a simple application, because you just have some basic data, some overtime hours, and you apply a small formula. So it may, you can write the code in a short time, but then it also have other things you can do the task better. Now usually you can think about the payment methods. So certain cases you do by cash payment, but then because for security reasons you try to minimize the use of cash when handling with many employees. So you have other solutions, where one is the paycheck, you pay through the bank, through a check, or you send to your bank account, or otherwise you have various teller machines where you are given some way of withdrawing your money at the time of the day where you are eligible to withdraw. So you may have some sort of payroll card for that. Then even for documentation, you need to have a pay slip with the details of how the pay was calculated.
So that means even it is a small system at a glance, you can add more and more function and make it a medium size or large size.
Yeah. So generally you can add functionality to easily to bring it to a medium scale if you think of so many related components. Now some organizations deduct certain amounts for taxes and things like that. So you may, for pay calculation you may show it, but then another task is to accumulate that tax collection from everybody and then create a paycheck for the tax department, revenue department. So so likewise you can add, and then some employees you pay monthly, some you may pay daily, like that there are different schemes. So you can add the complexity adding functionalities like that.
Right.
Although sometimes the client may say my organization does it monthly, you may think of other things, modules that the client will not use, but your system still have them to fulfill the project requirement. Because the project is concerned, you must have this full scale of work. So, things like payroll fit into a larger system what we call as a HR, human resource system, which have personnel management and various other things, recruitment, career planning and training and various things. So, so many ways of expanding is possible.
Yeah.
So that even the client doesn't want, you can link and show as one system. Don't try to show two different systems. This is my payroll system, this is my student information system, and this do a little bit, this do a little bit. That sort of thing may not be acceptable, because we need one integrated solution which has a or as a whole benefit as an IT solution. So that is what we expect. So finally, I will just try to give some idea about what type of things you would do for some documentation, or some parts of the things you have to develop or do as part of the project. Now, mention you do a feasibility study, then analysis, then a design, then development, then the testing, and then you have the final product. And basically at the end of the process, you are supposed to do evaluation to reflect with respect to the process you adopted, and think back, if I am doing it again now, are there any things I would have changed? Are there any weaknesses? What certain strength of good points, because you did this way, you were able to achieve this better, and things like that. You are supposed to summarize and discuss as evaluation, as well as you will think about future extensions, so that the client knows other things somebody else can continue from the work you have done. So, in your system analysis and other courses, you would have learned various documentation techniques. So, one thing is you need to give an overview of the system with respect to the architecture, the physical components, what are the server, what different type of users, how they interact and things like that. Or with respect to software component, these are the modules, these how they interact with the database, or whatever the components. So, you need to use appropriate diagrams to illustrate that, which will be customized to your appropriate application. And then most application involves databases as backend. Then you need to have database structures created in your implementation. Then you must have appropriate data. So, the data is something